I think after we run, a few of the guys might have just slowed down a little bit and going to play it easy in qualifying and run hard in racing.
But he runs hard all the time. Andy Brass out of West Alton, Missouri, piloting Bob and Marilyn Chandler's Bigfoot. Bigfoot and Gravedigger side by side. They power up, get set to go, and there they are, off and away. Look at this, a great hole shot for Gravedigger. Whoa, look out! Lyle trying his best to keep it on all four wheels. A wild ride and a win for the Gravedigger. And the track, or at least in the arena. But wait a minute. U.S. Hot Rod Association officials say that Gravedigger jumped the light. He jumped the light. He does not win. Your winner is Bigfoot. This incredible ride of Lyle Hancock and the Gravedigger means absolutely, positively nothing. He jumped the light. He's out of there, disqualified, and the win goes to Andy Brass and Bigfoot.
So it looks like bad luck strikes two favorite trucks here in Anaheim. Bigfoot is gone. Taurus, a first-round loser. It's beautiful Anaheim, California. I'm Ken Brew, and this is Monster Truck Challenge. Bad luck for two trucks so far. Out is Bigfoot. Out with mechanical problems is Fred Schaefer in Barefoot. Will the bad luck continue as we head into round two? Here's how it stacks up.
We have now Barefoot, Fred Schaefer, and the Barefoot truck going against Bigfoot. Bob and Marilyn Chandler's truck out of St. Louis, Missouri, piloted by Andy Brass. Fred Schaefer lives not too far from the Bigfoot camp, and these guys go at it constantly. So you have a Chevy-Ford matchup. There's a shot of Fred and the Barefoot out of Pontoon Beach, Illinois, right across the river from St. Louis, Missouri. Andy Brass piloting the Bigfoot out of West Alton, Missouri. That's Andy's hometown. He wants us to make mention of that. He does not live in St. Louis. The truck is out of St. Louis. They're staged and set to go. Bigfoot and Barefoot. There they go. Andy Brass and Bigfoot gets a hole shot. The win goes to Barefoot. And Andy Brass looking good off the line, but he made the fatal mistake. He launched. He went up in the air instead of out over the cars. And when you're going straight up, you're not going out and across cars. And the win goes to Barefoot. Here's how he did it. He approaches the ramp, stays low, stretches out, leans out, and comes over that finish line first. One more time, side by side, Bigfoot and Barefoot. Watch the difference. One goes high, one stays low, and Barefoot and Fred Schaefer, the Chevy, go into our next matchup.
A couple of questions come to mind. First off, does Andy Brass and Bigfoot know that the Gravedigger has sustained damage? If he does, he might ease up a little bit. If not, you can expect Andy Brass to really try and nail it here. Also, two-wheel drive doesn't totally handicap the Gravedigger. He'll get a push off those back wheels. Let's see if it's enough. Gravedigger and Bigfoot. Bigfoot gets the win, but what a performance by Lyle Hancock with only two-wheel drive. He took Bigfoot to the test, and the big Ford wins it by inches. You're going to isolate the replay right here. Andy Brass, nice straight shot. Lots of air under the carriage of Bob Chandler's creation out of St. Louis, Missouri, and it's good enough for a win as Andy Brass brings Bigfoot down home with a victory. The Gravedigger, though, despite having only two-wheel drive, gives us a scintillating performance here and almost pulls the surprise. You can see there's really nothing happening with the front wheels. Everything for Gravedigger is coming off the back. And what a push he gets. A lot of air, a super run, but not enough to take on a 100% effort from Bigfoot. Gravedigger is eliminated in the first round by the Ford from St. Louis. Our next matchup will bring out two former Back is the Fast Loser will take on Barefoot. Andy Brass will bring Bigfoot out against arch rival Jackie Willman and Taurus. And, you know, it's really two contrasting styles. Brass is a longtime veteran, better known for longer race courses outdoors.
Yeah, it does. The experience does. I myself have been running out here for a long time, but I've been on the outdoor tracks, the long tracks, where Taurus has been running. Jackie with Taurus has been running all the indoor tracks. He's used to this short of a track. He's got his truck pretty well geared into it and everything, and I've been having a little bit of problems here trying to get the truck dialed to the course because, like I say, I'm so used to running an outdoor long track.
So it's still just kind of a hope and see kind of a deal?
Yeah, that's about right. You know, like I say, we've been adjusting the truck. We're out here doing some more things on it now, hoping we can maybe just get out of the hole just a little bit faster.
Certainly the advantages to Torres, not only in driving style and lane choice, he's a little faster in qualifying. Let's see if the Chevy can get it done against the Ford. Boy, Andy Brass gave him a run, but Torres puts him away. Jackie Willman and the Torres Chevrolet. You know, we talked about the contrasting styles of these two drivers, and this is a perfect example right here. Maybe nobody in the sport better out of the hole, especially on a short course, than Jackie Willman. He sees the light beautifully. He's got quick reflexes, and he just explodes out of the gate. That was the difference right there, as Torres had a full head of steam up quickly, and Jackie Willman comes away the victor in the Torres Chevrolet. Andy Brass, known for being a come-from-behind driver, there's no room to come from behind on this track. And when Willman gets him by just a little bit out of the hole, that's all he needs. And Torres is able to hold on for a very close victory here at Oakland. So you can put the Torres Chevrolet into the final. Who's he going to meet? We're about to find out with our final semifinal matchup in Oakland. The Equalizer will come.
And our first round matchup, an all-out foot matchup. The legendary Bigfoot, the truck that started it all, coming into the Tampa Stadium, and he's going against Fred Schaefer and Barefoot, a Chevy and Ford foot shootout side by side to start this thing out. There's Andy Brass out of West Alton, Missouri, driving Bob and Marilyn Chandler's Bigfoot. Going against him from just down the road, Pontoon Beach, Illinois, Fred Schaefer and Barefoot. Fred was the 1990 world champion. And he's trying to do it again in 1992. Bigfoot and Barefoot. And look at Bigfoot. He comes from behind. Now the turning's where it all is, and Barefoot has some problems. Bigfoot goes on to win it. He sails across the cars, and Fred Schaefer almost lost the truck. As he comes over, he lands very, very hard and just cannot steer. He's working. If you look up in the cockpit, you can see him working. Nothing seems to be going right for him. He almost flips the truck. Meanwhile, Andy Brass comes around and goes on to victory. We'll see if we can get back in the pits with Fred and see what happens.
It's a monster truck challenge. Here's Joe Lowe.
Ken, we're going right now to Andy Brass.
We laid down a pretty good run. Fred had some troubles there on the cars, and I'm thinking tonight it's going to be a lot of who can get down there and land on the cars at the end and see which lane doesn't end up and develop a big hole and start pitching the trucks one way or the other.
How's the rear steering working for you?
Well, this is not working too bad. We went into this last corner. We was a little late on the steering, so we're going to have to pick that up just a little bit in the next round, try to hit it a little earlier. We watching the replays there a little bit. I think I went a little bit too deep, so we're just going to have to pick up the pace a little bit and hit it a little earlier.
Andy's going up against David Morris. Let's go to David in the Equalizer with a tire update. Dave Morris in the Equalizer going up against Andy Brass and Bigfoot in Tampa. We're ready to go. Bigfoot with the lead as they both go into the turn. Equalizer around the turn first. And Bigfoot with a come from behind. And did he win it, or did I see something down on the turn? Now, the rules say that if you hit the pole, you're disqualified. And yes, it's true that Andy Brass and Bigfoot made it across the finish line first, but I think I saw him hit that pole. He comes down. Now, remember, he said he did not want to go as far around and turn out like he did the first time. He cuts it real close. Andy, yeah. He lost it right there, disqualified. He hit the pole, and Bigfoot is disqualified. The win goes to David Morris, the Equalizer. And you see that yellow tire on the rear. That's the borrowed tire. I wonder who that came from. Next up is Jackie Willman and Torres. The Superdome in New Orleans, and here's Ron Bachman out of St. Louis, Missouri. He's piloting Bigfoot. He'll go up against Lupe Sosa and the Warrior. And this should be a war between these two trucks. Bigfoot and the Warrior. New Orleans, the Superdome. Waiting for the green light. A turning course. There they go. Side by side. Bigfoot has a wild ride, but look at this. Warriors all over the track.
After taking his foot out of it to negotiate this turn, Ron Bachman takes the Bigfoot forward around and through. And Bigfoot gets an easy win over the Warrior. Lupe Sosa all over this track, bouncing up and down. Your winner is Bigfoot. The turn was where it all happened. Ron Bachman knew what was going on, came out of it corrected, went into that first little hill and over the set of cars, and he had no idea that the Warrior was having so much problems way back there on that turn. You can see the difference right here. Look at that. Bigfoot is over and around and through, and Warrior is just having to stop and overcorrect and overcorrect. He just can't get things right on that steer. That cost him a race. Rob Grossman and King Crunch would like to go against Taurus in the finals, but first he's got to get past Bigfoot. And Ron Bachman spoke about his strategy with Jim Clark.
A little bit better. We're still working on some stuff on the takeoff to the first set of cars. If we can get that down pretty good, we have the turn pretty good. Just need to get a little bit quicker off the red to green. That's just, I don't know, slow on my part.
So Ron and Rob, King Crunch and Bigfoot set to go here in the Superdome. Off the line, King Crunch takes advantage of a problem that Bigfoot has over that first set of cars. Rob Grossman, a great shot of him as he goes around the turn. It's going to be neck and neck, and King Crunch pulls out in front. And Rob Grossman takes advantage of problems Bigfoot has early in the run and sails on to victory. The auto value King Crunch is indeed your winner and will take on the world champion Taurus in our Monster Truck Challenge final. Around the turn he goes now. It's very, very interesting to point out that this near lane has been very, very friendly to the trucks, while that far lane has caused a lot of problems, causing them to bounce all over the place. And this is where you can see this bouncy problem. Bigfoot is up and over. The rear end comes up, and instead of just going on, Ron has to back out of it and let the truck settle down before he can move on. He's trying to catch up right here, and he's going into this little hill that seems to be sending everybody off to the side. And boom, bouncy, bouncy. He's out of shape when he goes over the cars. Meanwhile, King Crunch has gone across the finish line. King Crunch and Taurus will be in your final. You can see where it happens right here. King Crunch sails across. Bigfoot has lots of problems, bouncing around. He's playing catch-up right here. A good turn for both these drivers. And Bigfoot is still in the race at this point. King Crunch goes over the hill. Ron gets thrown all over the place in Bigfoot. And that's all she wrote. King Crunch, your winner.
Fast qualifier, snake bite. She's driven by Colt Cobra with a time of 5.15 seconds. That means he gets lane choice all night after a first round bye. And if you haven't seen this truck, you're in for a real treat. It's one of the newest and coolest looking monsters on the U.S. Hot Rod Association circuit.
So we're going to see the bye run of this guy, the snake bite. The new hot shot out of Cobra Creek, Colorado. Ross Cooperman and Joe Nune caught up with Colt Cobra before this run.
Tell us about your monster truck, snake bite.
Well, let me tell you something, Ross and Joe. I built this truck last year to come out here and compete against these boys. It just show them what real monster trucks are all about. And let me tell you right now, right behind here is a power-beating Ford 557 cubic inch. I've been chasing that green truck over ours here in November, and he put me out. And I'm here to stay. I'm going to stake my claim to this Silver Dome tonight.
They may not come any cockier than that guy right there, Colt Cobra. He gets a bye run as our fast qualifier in snake bite. I'll tell you what, you really got to like a guy who comes out and wants to hammer it anyway. With a bye run, all he had to do was roll over the cars and make a legal run and move into the next round. But that's not the way this guy is made. Watch Colt Cobra hammer it right here getting up and over that first set of cars. And now to take on the second stack of cars. Once again, Colt Cobra sends her skyward. A good, solid legal run with a bye. Snakebite will now move into the semifinal round. His opponent is about to be determined between the Beast and Master of Disaster, who'll be coming out next. One more time with Colt Cobra. He takes those first 3 cars, gets them in pretty good shape, and has a lot of momentum built up for the second stack of cars. And Snakebite lets him see what he's got in the Pontiac Silverdome. A lot of Ford fans in this part of the country, and Snakebite loves showing off for him right here today on Super Track. That's the way you've got to drive it when you're going to take on this guy. Colt Cobra behind the wheel of the Snakebite Ford.
Well, the way you're driving it, you almost seem to have an easy time with it. I noticed that you seem to ease off the throttle after the first set of cars. That looks like technique you've developed.
Well, over the years, we've learned a lot of different driving experiences. I learned by letting off the throttle a little bit, it'll bring the front end down faster, and I have more time on the ground where I can set up for the second set.
It almost looks like you're on smooth ground.
Well, so far, like I said, the Ford Snakebite's been doing a real good job. We're going to keep it up. We're going to keep pounding on these guys for the rest of the year.
And one more thing. I noticed when you were, announced that you were in the semifinals, you got a big round of applause. You quickly seem to be becoming a fan favorite here at the Silverdome.
That's right. We run on television all last year. We brought this truck out. It's totally unique. It's totally different. People like it. Everybody's falling in love with it. This is taking a little bit of time.
Snakebite ready to go. Let's watch both the trucks in between the 2 sets of cars, because you heard both drivers say they're going to handle it differently. Let's see. It looks like Snakebite had the better way of handling that distance between the sets of cars. He gets a victory. Oh, Master of Disaster almost ran into it. Jim Thomas got that Chevrolet shut down just in time. Snakebite's your winner. Let's go to the replay. Isolated on the Snakebite Ford. You can see the bad boy coming at you. And he really launches it up that second set of cars. What a run for Snakebite. A victorious run in the Silverdome. Now on our next angle for the replay, in between the 2 sets of cars, remember, Master of Disaster said he was not going to let up. Snakebite did let off the gas in between the cars to kind of settle that front end down. Here's where he hammers it, and it worked out great for him. A great run for Snakebite and Colt Cobra. That's an impressive victory, some 3 truck lengths over the Master of Disaster. Snakebite will go into the finals against either. Fairly Tame is a truck with a lot of horsepower, but this truck does have a great suspension setup, and Colt Cobra knows how to drive it. From Cobra Creek, Colorado, the Snakebite Ford looking to get a win in the Silverdome. He'll have to beat Fairly Tame to get the job done. Fairly Tame's got the lead, but he couldn't finish the job. He went out of control midway through the second set of cars, and your Silverdome superstar today is Snakebite and Colt Cobra. He takes the victory. Let's watch him on the isolated replay. A good, smooth run, even though out of the hole, Fairly Tame got the advantage. Colt Cobra did not panic. He just ran his nice, smooth race, and it's enough to get him the victory as Fairly Tame careened out of control and into his lane before getting her stopped down on the second half of the course. Keep your eyes on the big blue truck at the bottom of the screen. That's Fairly Tame. He had the lead here, but his problems come before he gets to the second set of cars, shooting over into Snakebite's lane. Luckily for Colt Cobra, the Snakebite truck is already gone and headed for victory lane. Colt Cobra comes out of the Silverdome with the victory. He's on his victory lap, waving at the fans. A big win for the Ford fans here today on Super Track.
You were well in the air. In fact, I don't think your front wheels ever touched the ground.
Well, I tell you what, I knew Doug, like I said earlier, I knew he'd be my toughest competitor if we both made it into the finals tonight. I've been watching him all night. He's been pushing it real hard up the line. I knew we was going to have to get over that first set before him because he's been making up a lot of wheel speed in between the cars. And we just hit it in the high side, in the high top gear, and, the Ford Snakebite just pulled it out in the end. And, I didn't even see him. I knew he'd be there, though, wherever it might end up.
Now let's go over to the blue side of things. The Ford Bigfoot
Felt good for what I felt of it. It's my first time in the truck. Tough, I don't know.
Dan Runty driving the brand new Bigfoot 10. Goes up against Gary Porter and Carolina Crusher. Side by side in the Centrum. Whoa! I thought the last one was close. This one, if it's possible, is even closer. Was it Carolina Crusher or Bigfoot? I'm going to have to watch this one again. They're lined up. Off the line, they both look good. They raise up over the cars together. And the win goes to Carolina Crusher. Gary Porter, the Crusher, defeats the entire Bob and Marilyn Chandler Bigfoot team and their brand new Bigfoot 10 here at the Centrum. But don't count this Bigfoot 10 out yet. Dan Runty is a relatively new driver behind the wheel of this truck. Meanwhile, Gary Porter seems to be having some problems. Let's go trackside with him.
I like racing in Worcester because the happy face button was created here by Harvey Ball. He didn't get a patent on it, so he only made $45 off his idea.
Hey, see what you can learn when you pay attention
Fred
here on...
Schaefer and Barefoot out of Pontoon Beach, Illinois. Freddie knows his way around this track. He knows his way around monster truck racing, but he's got to go against the big crew out of St. Louis, Missouri. Bob Chandler's Bigfoot truck driven by Dan Runty. They go, they launch, and again, the wind goes to the near lane, and Fred Schaefer's Barefoot truck, you can see it there. Bigfoot a full 5 feet up in the air more than Barefoot. Barefoot across and picks up the win. Fred Schaefer goes against Taurus in round number 2. Coming up, our third against Bob and Marilyn Chandler's Bigfoot. The Bigfoot out of St. Louis, Missouri, being piloted today by Dan Runty. Dan, one of the many drivers on the Bigfoot camp. Here we go. Bigfoot, Equalizer, side by side. Bigfoot with a hole shot. But the Equalizer comes from behind for the win. David Morris, the guy who has just been phenomenal this season, racks up some more points and yet another win. Bigfoot and the hole shot. Again, they go high in that left-hand lane while the Equalizer stays low. And about a quarter truck length lead, David Morris has total control of his. Our next matchup between Taurus and Bigfoot. Dan Runty driving Bigfoot 10, Jackie Willman and Taurus. No love lost here. As we get set to go, Dan Runty driving the Bigfoot 10. This is the blue Ford. And Jackie Willman in the Chevy, the 1991 world champion Taurus. We're set to go. Bigfoot and Taurus, who's it gonna be? Here we go. We'll find out moments from now. Could you tell? Watching that race, could you honestly tell which one crossed the finish line first? Was it Taurus or Bigfoot? The ISO cam picks up Taurus. Jackie Willman knows how to drive. He's dialed in on this blue lane. And the U.S. Hot Rod Association has given the win officially to Jackie Willman and Taurus. All night long, you've been hearing these drivers talk about the difference in lanes. This one cost Bigfoot a win. They're side by side going into the ramp. The yellow lane launches Bigfoot. Jackie Willman stays low in the blue lane. And there you can see that's all she rode. Almost a half-truck lead and the win for Jackie Willman and Taurus. And that's it for round number 1 of our Monster Truck Challenge. The next matchup between Gary Porter and the Carolina Crusher and Dan Runty and the Bigfoot monster truck representing Bob and Marilyn Chandler's team out of St. Louis, Missouri. Gary Porter, the lone wolf on the tour, travels by himself out of Wadesboro, North Carolina, and this guy is a true professional. Again, Carolina Crusher and the Bigfoot set to go in Monster Truck Challenge. Porter catches The guy's sleeping. It's incredible. Dan Runte, who is not known for this, is caught napping at the starting line, and Carolina Crusher defeats Bigfoot in round number 1 of Monster Truck Challenge. Look at that. He picked up a whole truck length on the starting line, and Bigfoot just couldn't catch up. Now on the ice going outside, David Morris, where in the world are you going, buddy? Come on, Dave, you're supposed to go out the other way. Well, I guess David Morris dances to a different drummer. I don't know. Our next 2 competitors are coming up to the starting line. We're going to have to move the equalizer, and Carolina Crusher goes against Bigfoot. Jim Clark talks with Dan Runte. Knows he's getting another chance, and he knows where he lost it the last time at the starting light.
What was your run like, and what do you look forward to up against the Crusher?
It was a good run. The Ford Bigfoot's really doing a good job. I was a little late on the light myself. I wasn't quite prepared when the light did go green. I got to get a better light time on a track that's this short, or it's all over.
About the course, you get much air time. What's the takeoff like?
Takeoff's really good here on this track. We're getting a lot of traction. It's really doing good as far as takeoff, and we're not getting a lot of air tonight. It's really helped. We've done some changes with our shocks and tire pressure that's helped us quite a bit as far as air.
As in drag racing, cutting a good light is where it's at, and he does it. Dan Runte, when the light turns green, he's gone. Gary Porter is standing there going, what's going on? Where is everybody? Runte's over the finish line. And Bigfoot smokes the Carolina Crusher. You don't want to give this guy an inch. He's going to take a mile. Bigfoot saying, yeah, Gary Porter, you caught me napping once. It's not going to happen again. And the Bigfoot monster truck out of St. Louis, Missouri, driving style impeccable. He's up, he's over. And Dan Runte showing us how it's done. If you want to see where this race was won, take a look at this. They're lined up. The light changes. There's where it's won. There's where it's won. Bigfoot has a jump of almost an entire truck length over Carolina Crusher.
Okay, so the finals are all set now in Albany. It'll be Bigfoot against the Equalizer. Oh, incidentally, under, and Bigfoot had himself a pretty fair afternoon, too. He took care of the Carolina Crusher. So that sets up the championship battle. Let's go to Joe Lowe.
The crowd is ready for the final, Ken, but just as he was pulling to the starting line, Bigfoot had a problem, and Jim Clark was there.
Dan Runte, doing a little work on your car here before the final run. What's going on?
Just backfired as I let off the gas coming over the cars and blew the muffler off. We are the only ones that run mufflers as far as monster trucks go, but it helps us as driving to hear other noises, and when that comes off, you see it gets pretty loud in here.
All right, tell us about your last run and what you look forward to in the run up against the Equalizer.
Well, hopefully I can go back and do the same thing that I did the last run. As far as the light goes, I cut a good light. On a short track, like I said before, you got to cut a good light to get this race, because after you leave that ramp, that's all that counts.
Well, since this race is going to be won again with the hole shot, who's going to be quickest on the draw when the light turns green? And you got to watch out for one thing. There's one danger there. We see it in drag racing all the time. Dan Runte's been good so far, but both drivers are going to have to watch out for jumping that light. Here we go. The crowd's on their feet in the Knickerbocker Arena. They power up, and Bigfoot seemed to get the hole shot. David Morris, though, stays low in that near lane, the lane he's loved all night long. And they say, yes, he picked up the win by just about 3 feet. And although Bigfoot gets the hole shot, David Morris comes from behind by staying low, edges out Bigfoot, and picks up yet another win on this Monster Truck Challenge season. The Equalizer, definitely the dominant force on Monster Truck Challenge for 1992 so far this season. Whoa, David powering out, and you can hear the crowd as they're presented with their winner here. Bigfoot and Taurus. Dan Runte drives the Bigfoot 10. Let's go trackside with him.
Taurus is a tough competitor. The Ford Bigfoot's really been running outstanding. I just have to learn to work with the truck. This is only my 3rd weekend in the truck. I was driving an old Bigfoot 7. I shouldn't say old, but it was a leaf spring truck. where we're just on nitrogen shocks here, and it's a lot different ride and a lot different learning to drive it.
A Ford and a Chevy teaming up. The big blue Ford, Bigfoot, Dan Runte driving, going up against the reigning world champion, Jackie Willman, and the red Chevy Taurus. During that new suspension, we're going to see a showdown between Bigfoot and Taurus right now. That run was so close. I don't know if viewers could tell. I could not. The U.S. Hot Rod Association, we've asked them to review the ESPN replay, and let's do it together right now. Off the line, Bigfoot races first. He gets a bit of a hole shot off of Taurus. And the U.S. Hot Rod Association says that hole shot was enough to propel Bigfoot to the win. Here we can see on the side cam another shot. And it's clear here, the win goes to Dan Runte and the Bigfoot racer. Our next matchup between Barefoot and Equalizer. They're seeing the best monster trucks in the world. Bigfoot 10, the brand new truck out of St. Louis, Missouri. But as you mentioned, the Carolina Crusher is who he has to get past. Now, Gary Porter is having the best day he's had of the year. He has the lane choice because he was the fastest qualifier. And right now, there is a difference in lanes according to everybody. He's going to stick in that far lane. So it's Bigfoot and Carolina Crusher up to the starting line. Not a bad idea. Hold your ears. Here we go. Every time these two trucks get together, it comes down to this, a photo finish. Bigfoot or Carolina Crusher, who was it? Gary Porter's optimistic. He gives the crowd a thumbs up as he backs down. Side by side, and the slow-mo cam picking them up. And Gary Porter over the finish line first. The win goes to Carolina Crusher. It was won right on the starting line. Bigfoot playing catch-up, and if he had had another 5 feet, he would have done it. But would-haves don't count. In monster truck racing, the win goes to Gary Porter. This is where he did it. On the starting line, the tires raise, approaches the ramp, up and over and into the championship round for Gary Porter and the Carolina Crusher. Hey, that's about as close as you're going to get. Bigfoot may have lost the race, but he's still got a lot of fans here in Providence, Rhode Island.
I like Bigfoot, how big and loud he is.
Action between the Equalizer and Bigfoot. Dan Runte up in the Bigfoot monster truck talked about a round-new-round course.
Circular track versus straight track, what do you like better?
I like this better. There's a little more, what am I trying to say, a little more competition in it, a little more driver skill in it.
And he's got driver skill. That is Dan Runte driving the Bigfoot monster truck out of St. Louis, Missouri. But his competition is from Springfield, Tennessee, the guy who's been winning everything so far this season with reaction time off the line. The crowd is ready, the trucks are ready, and here we go. Look at this. They're both sailing through the air, making that turn. The rear steer being used by both monster trucks extremely well. Bigfoot with a slight edge. The Equalizer having to play catch-up, and uh-oh! Look what happened to Bigfoot. He took out the turn pole. Bigfoot, Dan Runte, wins the race, but he took out the turn pole, and that's going to cost him a win. He's getting the news right now, and this is where it happened. Bigfoot makes the turn, takes out that pole. He must clear that pole. He did not do it. He came around. He does get the win. He was the first one over the finish line, but he took out that turn pole. He's disqualified, and a tough break for the big blue Ford from St. Louis, Missouri. He was looking great. He had that rear steer locked in. David Morris was playing catch-up. Everything looked like it was going Bigfoot's way. But alas and alack, that pole tells the tale, laying down. It cost him. So as you can see, Bigfoot first over the line. and unfortunately, he may be the first one on the trailer here at Providence.
The experience.
Experience is going to play a big factor here because he's going up against Dan Runty and Bigfoot, a relative newcomer to the monster truck racing scene. He's piloting the big blue Ford Bigfoot.
I like the track so far. It's pretty smooth as far as the corners. The cars are really smooth. Other than there is one hole in this blue set of cars that does throw you back up. The ramps are good. The corners are good and smooth. The sand helps a lot on the corners. I like the track.
Dan Runty likes the track in Bigfoot. Fred Schaefer says Barefoot is ready, and there they go. On this important turn, both clear of the pole. Bigfoot seems to have this track dialed in, and Fred Schaefer, whoa, Freddie, he had some problems. Dan Runty, he has problems on the turn, comes over the finish line first. It was not the prettiest win I've ever seen. This young man thinks it's too loud, and the crowd is just sitting mesmerized. The winner being announced to the crowd as Bigfoot. Dan Runty, he had to watch this pole. That's the one he took out earlier. What a great job, but look, the rear end comes around. Dan Runty is out of shape, but he does keep 2 tires over the cars at all times. He crosses the finish line, stops it. Hey, the winner is Bigfoot. Now notice that Barefoot's not even in the picture yet. He's not even over the cars. Experience didn't help Fred Schaefer this time, as Bigfoot is your winner. He'll take on Taurus in our monster final. And as you can see, they've been working on the track, that big piece of equipment, making sure everything is set for this monster final. Both drivers have been asked to size up the competition going to the championship. First, we speak with Jackie Willman of Taurus, and he talks about Bigfoot and the competition he has from him tonight.
What do you know about Bigfoot? What do you have to do to win?
Well, their truck's about the same as mine. It's kind of hard to go around the corner, so it'll be a good race.
Jackie Willman, the current world champion, and the truck that has never, ever won a U.S. Hot Rod Association World Championship, Bigfoot. Dan Runty has to go against Taurus.
Taurus is a tough competitor. The Ford Bigfoot's really been running outstanding. I just have to learn to work with the truck. This is only my 3rd weekend in the truck. I was driving an old Bigfoot 7. I shouldn't say old, but it was a leaf spring truck where we're just on nitrogen shocks here, and it's a lot different ride and a lot different learning to drive it.
Well, he's been learning here tonight. Dan Runty of Bigfoot. He started out knocking over the turn pole, came back as the fastest loser, and finds himself in the championship against the world champion Taurus. There they go. Dead even going into turn number 1. Bigfoot whips it around. Taurus battles, loses a few feet to him. On the turn, the final turn. Bigfoot with the lead. Bigfoot wins it. Bigfoot wins it. He came back from behind. He knocked down the turn pole early on, but Bigfoot, a little luck and a lot of skill, Dan Runty takes the Bigfoot monster truck to a championship in Providence, Rhode Island. He has certainly learned to maneuver these turns. Look at this young man go. Whips it right around. The rear end does not come around this time. A near picture-perfect ride for Bigfoot in Providence. On the finish line, the camera shows you what it's all about. Bigfoot over as Taurus just barely approaches the cars. Your winner in Providence, Rhode Island, Bigfoot, and Dan Runty getting a big hug from his crew. He is one happy camper. And as they say, the agony of defeat, Jackie Willman suffering that right now in Taurus. Tough break for him. Jackie Willman, he was doing great, had a great run going for him, but again, the turns were too much. Gave it his best shot as the world champion. He knew everything was resting on him, a lot of pressure on him. He just slid around, had problems on that turn, and it just wasn't the night for Taurus to win. Again, Bigfoot your winner at Providence in the Civic Center, and the first win for a young man from St. Louis, Missouri, Dan Runty, and Bigfoot, his first professional win.
What's running through your mind right now?
I'm happy. I'm really happy. I couldn't be any more happier.
Talk about the final run.
Basically the same as one before, you know, as far as Kenny and those guys. They kept telling me, keep making the same runs you've been making. Make the corners tight because you're going to slide in the corners because it is slippery. Whether you feel it or not in the truck, you are sliding. I'm happy the Ford Bigfoot did good.
Going to be a lot of wins for you down the line, Dan, but this one I guess you'll always remember as number one.
You're exactly right, I will. I'm speechless. I don't know what to say.
Well, I know what to say. Congratulations, Dan Runte. You are the champion at Providence on this round of the U.S. Hot Rod Association's Monster Truck Challenge.
Stash and the Hawk. Look for the green light, guys. Showtime in Houston. Over the first hill, Andy Brass clears the entire set of cars, and the win for Bigfoot and Andy Brass in our first round competition here in the Houston Astrodome. Here's Bigfoot on the ISO cam over that first hill. Turn on the gas. Come on home, Andy. Boom. Airborne. Bigfoot doesn't even touch the cars. And the win, of course, goes to Andy Brass and Bob Chandler's Bigfoot. Here's a matchup.
Joe Lowe?
Hey, not only watching them fun, keeping track of them fun, but eating this Texas chili is fun, Ken. Let's go. Bigfoot toughing up Chevy and Ford confrontation side by side in the Houston Astrodome. They're staged, they're set, here they go. And look at this, toughing up. No, toughing up had Andy Brass off the line, but Bigfoot comes from behind, turns it on, and beats toughing up. The win goes to Bigfoot. St. Louis, Missouri. Bennett Clark and Clydesdale out of Powder Springs, Georgia, to the starting line. The Chevy and Ford, remember they have to turn, and Bigfoot, I gotta tell you, has the ability to manipulate all around this track. Bennett Clark has a lot of trouble moving that big truck. Bigfoot's across the finish line. Bennett's still trying to get around the turn. Bigfoot moves to our final. Andy Brass and Bigfoot makes it to the championships here in Houston, and this truck just cannot do anything wrong here in Houston at the Astrodome. Bigfoot with a big win over Clydesdale. Next up,
here's Joe Lowe to call the ultimate final from the ultimate day of racing.
the crowd is on their feet in the Houston Astrodome. Bigfoot and Buffalo Trevor ready to go. Jim Clark caught up with Andy Brass a moment ago.
The truck seems like it's running pretty good. The track's getting a little bit better. Guys are getting used to the track here. We're kind of getting dialed in, getting a few more runs on ourselves here. We're feeling more familiar with the track, so the guys are going to start running a little bit harder. Coming down to Buffalo. Buffalo's been running pretty good today. You know, he's got a good truck. He's one of the new suspension trucks, and he's learning how to drive the truck and been doing a real good job with it. So he's going to be a good run.
That's what's going on in the Bigfoot camp. Let's go over to the Buffalo Trevor camp and Bigfoot. We promised you excitement. Here it comes from the Astrodome. Bigfoot takes a big lead, but don't count Buffalo Trevor out just yet. Around the turn they go. Side by side, Buffalo Trevor catches up to Bigfoot. They pour it on, and Bigfoot opens up a lead and picks up the win. In the Houston Astrodome, no doubt about it, it's all Bigfoot and Andy Brass. Andy Brass with the win on our Monster Truck Challenge from the Astrodome. Here's how he did it. Off the line, over the cars. Whoop, watch that little hill. Now make that turn. Andy Brass can do this in his sleep. He is an expert with the rear steer. Bob and Marilyn Chandler's truck gives him the power he needs to pick up the win. And Andy Brass, a great driver. Bigfoot, a great truck, combined for a win here in Houston. As Andy comes down to talk to ESPN's Jim Clark.
All right, Andy Brass, Bigfoot number 10. First time out and a big win here in the Houston Astrodome.
Yeah, it was. I want to thank you. The old Ford was running good for us tonight. Thanks to guys like Ford, BDS, GF Action there. We were able to make the fire, put it to the ground here thanks to the Firestone tires. We did a good job. It was a good run here at the end. hard to get a little bit concerned in the corner, but we just kind of had to keep the cool a little bit, make the corner nice, and I just hope we can pick up a little bit of speed in the straightaway.
What's next for Bigfoot 10?
Well, the next trip will be out in Oregon, and that's where we're heading. We're going to just try to do a little bit, go back to the shop now, do a little bit more fine-tuning, watch the tapes here. And like I say, we'll just fine-tune the truck a little bit more. It's just first show really big for the truck. So like I say, right now, it's just we're still in our experimental stage. And the shocks have got a lot more we can do with them. And it's just, like I say, we'll just go back, watch some films, and try to adjust the truck in a little bit more.
All right, well, congratulations. A big win for Bigfoot number 10 here in the Houston Astrodome. And Andy Brass. Thank you, Andy.
Thank you.
So the
Five, Buffalo Tremor and Wild Thing. Meanwhile, down on the track, Bigfoot and Hawk are ready to start round number 1. There they go, straight line racing over the first hill as they hit the cars. Bigfoot with a commanding lead, and Andy Brass picks up his first win here tonight in Houston. As we look at the replay, you can see the incredible control Andy Brass has over this Bigfoot monster truck. Remember, it's straight line racing now, but when we get to round number 2, we do that giant Texas horseshoe, and we'll see who the biggest and best are at that time. Andy Brass goes to round number 2. Where is it? Wild Thing against the Hawk. Bigfoot gets a bye. Andy's with Jim Clark.
How's the course?
Well, the course seems to be pretty decent. So he's out there walked it earlier tonight. I thought the course was going to be a little bit rougher than what it was, but the ramps aren't throwing the guys as high as what we initially thought they would. So guys will probably be starting to speed up here later on in this first half, or even earlier after watching me run.
All right. Well, good luck to you in the rest of the competition.
Well, thank you now.
Boy, the brew curse is on the Hawk. Round number 3 of the Monster Truck Challenge. Jim Clark has a chance to talk with Rob Douche of First Blood. He goes against Bigfoot in this third round matchup.
I think the course is working out pretty well. Both lanes seem fair. Next round, I got to race Andy Brass with Bigfoot. That'll be the toughest run of the night. I'd rather do that last, but just kind of way the cards fell tonight.
Rob, everybody's been chasing Bigfoot tonight, and now it's First Blood's chance. Here we go. Andy Brass gets it off the line, but First Blood comes from behind as they hit that first hill. He has to straighten it up, but Andy, with this incredible turning ability of Bigfoot, makes the turn, hits the hill, and now he really widens the gap as he sails over the set of cars and into the winner's circle. Hold on, Andy, stop that thing. Andy Brass and Bigfoot, here's how to turn a monster truck. The newest and best. This is Bigfoot number 10 as he turns it on and sails in a victory over First Blood here in the Houston Astrodome, and the brakes work too.
For the final 4, let's not waste any time. Let's go trackside with Joe Lowe.
And it's King Crunch taking on Bigfoot. Andy Brass, the driver of Bigfoot 10. You know, we've been telling you he's out of St. Louis. Andy actually is from West Alton, Missouri, the truck from St. Louis. And who's aboard the King Crunch? Rob Grossman from Spring, Texas. He's got his work cut out for him against the big boy, Andy Brass and Bigfoot. Off the line, Andy Brass has some competition for this run. They're evenly matched. Bigfoot 10 makes that turn. The auto value King Crunch has some problems. Andy Brass, does he turn it on? Sure he does. 1, 2, 3. He's into our championship round. And the crowd loves it in Houston as Bigfoot hangs on against King Crunch. Andy Brass, do you see any problems coming up?
The only thing now is the cars are getting run over a lot. I'm trying to stay off of them because these are getting me potential hazards for the tires now. The guy can get a flat tire pretty easy.
The Bigfoot Auto Value Racer Final. The crowd's on their feet in Houston, and we're ready to go. Look at this, the Auto Value picks up a lead over Bigfoot. The crucial turn is coming up. Bigfoot negotiates without a problem. Auto Value's right there, but smoke is coming out. He's having problems, he's losing power, and Andy Brass sails to victory and a win in Houston. Scott Stevens told us he was going to save the equipment. Look at this. He drove it so hard it starts to smoke on him. Andy Brass pulls away, gets the victory. Andy Brass is standing by.
All right, Andy Brass, another big win here in the Houston Astrodome for Bigfoot 10, the newest Bigfoot.
Yeah, well, thank you. You know, the truck seemed like it was running good, you know. The Blue Ford run excellent, I should say. You know, we come out of the corner. We took our time a little bit in the corner, made sure we made a good, clean corner with it, got lined up, made sure we were straight when we was coming off the hill, because we just accelerated, got good traction thanks to the Firestone tires. You know, we ended up a lot farther past the cars than what we'd like to have been. We've been working a lot with the shocks. They've been doing pretty good job for us. You know, we bottomed them out when we hit, so we're just going to go back home a little bit now and do some fine-tuning on them.
Gary Porter and Bigfoot, Dan Runte up in the cockpit at a St. Louis, Missouri. So a Ford Chevy matchup between Bigfoot and Carolina Crusher. They're on the starting line. Both drivers stage, waiting for the signal to start. Back goes the starter, and there they go. Bigfoot spinning off the line. Carolina Crusher just cannot catch him. Matter of fact, Carolina Crusher goes over the finish line at a shake. The head-on shot. You can see both trucks approach the ramp, and Bigfoot is bobbled a little bit to the left. He corrects and goes over the second set of cars perfectly. Carolina Crusher just cannot catch the Bigfoot monster truck. Indeed, he hits the middle of that pile, and that pushes him over to the side. Bigfoot's moving on to round number 2 on Monster Truck Challenge. Look at this starting line. Both trucks just spinning to beat the band. Bigfoot gets a hole first. Now they really turn it on. This is where the horsepower pays off for the big blue Ford. And a full truck and a half length lead for Bigfoot. And that starting line is on Dan Runte's mind also.
The ramps are a lot different, and how much dirt is getting kicked out on the starting line has a lot to do with it, too.
Round action is the All-American hero, Joe Lowe.
United States Hot Rod Association Monster Truck Challenge between David Morris and the Equalizer and Dan Runte and Bigfoot. Both trucks want it bad. A Ford Chevy shootout, if you will. There they go. Equalizer with the lead off the line. And David Morris pilots the Equalizer to yet another win. And look, he did it in the far lane. The first truck to win in the far lane here at the Hubert H. Humphrey Metrodome. David Morris in the Equalizer, the hottest running truck on the circuit this season. He took out Bigfoot. The head-on shot, you can see it was a rough and tumble ride for David Morris, but the truck comes through one more time. And here comes
Joe Lowe.
Ken, over 50,000 fans have gathered to see the Monsters run in the Pontiac Silverdome. The haze you see, the result of a pyrotechnics show that fans were treated to before racing. And here comes Bigfoot, Andy Brass, out of West Alton, Missouri. A newlywed, Andy Brass is no stranger to Monster Truck Challenge. And he's going up against Hammer Time. Dan Johnson out of Howell, Michigan, a hometown boy. Hammer Time, Bigfoot, side by side on a turning course in the Pontiac Silverdome. They're lined up, ready to go, looking for the green light. They get it. Bigfoot lifts the front tires off the ground. Looks as though he may have blown a shock in the rear, but what a great job of driving. Bigfoot and Andy Brass power to a win. And Hammer Time left in the distance. Andy Brass and Bigfoot, you can see the smoke right there. It looks as though one of the rear shocks may have blown. As he turns around, this is a turning course, and he must use that rear steer, and Andy Brass knows how to do it. Up, powers up over the cars. A great run for Andy Brass and Bigfoot.
Just kind of feeling out the track a little bit. The Ford Bigfoot was running pretty good for us, you know. The track's real sticky out here. We're running on Firestone tires this weekend, and they're working out real well for us. Pulled us a good hole shot and just run down the track and made a smooth run, and that's what counted.
As he moves on, Monsters come to the starting line. They are the Snake Bike. Our first look at Snake Bike today. This is piloted by Colt Cobra out of Cobra Creek, Colorado. Mean-looking guy. And going against him, Bennett Clark and the Clydesdale. The Clydesdale out of Ackworth, Georgia. And then a former rodeo rider. So it's Clydesdale and Snakebite here in the Pontiac Silverdome. Side by side, a Ford and a Chevy. Off the start, Snakebite takes a big lead. Look at Clydesdale on that rear steer. Snakebite turns on the power, goes sideways and every which way, but he crossed the finish line first. The win, the Colt Cobra and Snakebite. On the turn, the Clydesdale had it, but Colt Cobra turns on the horsepower right here and defeats the Clydesdale. Let's see Clydesdale coming out of that turn. He's out of shape. He's going every which way. He's in trouble. That cost him the race. Here's Colt Cobra.
Well, the cars, when they paint the cars up inside these buildings, they get real slick. And your tires are turning such a tremendous wheel speed on there that the spin on the top of the cars that throws you every which way.
The fans getting their money's worth with 10 USHRA monsters. Seems to be the problem of a lot of the monsters here in Pontiac. Bigfoot, Andy Brass going up against the Clydesdale and Bennett Clark. A Ford Chevy matchup. They're on the starting line. There they go. Bigfoot hopping a wheelie off the start. Backs off. Uses that rear steer. Whoops that rear end around. And defeats the Clydesdale handily. Meanwhile, Bennett Clark is all over the track. He takes out a track marker pole. A tough break for Bennett Clark. He just cannot figure out this rear steer. Look at this. The rear tires are all out of shape. I'm not one direction and the other direction. Bennett's bouncing around. The track marker pole goes down. And Andy Brass, meanwhile, has this track dialed in. He knows exactly what's going on. Whoops that rear end around, up over the cars. Here's Andy.
It seems like, we're getting a little bit more dialed into the track. We got the truck dialed in a little better there. We got the right combination for the truck, and it's working good for us tonight.
Andy Brass and Bigfoot moves on to our semifinals in the Pontiac Silverdome. Challenge racing in Pontiac at the Silverdome. This time, it's Hammer Time and Snakebite. The awesome-looking Snakebite going up against Hammer Time. They're staged, and we're ready to go as action returns to Pontiac. Hammer Time bobbling just a little bit. Off the line, the Snakebite backs down for the turn. Hammer Time has problems in that turn. He has to shut down almost entirely. And Snakebite gets an easy win. Hammer Time just can't keep up. There goes one of those lane markers again. Here's where it was won. Snakebite, the rear steer working. And Colt Cobra gets another win in Pontiac. Colt Cobra snaking his way around the turn. Straightens things out. This guy can drive on both sides of this track.
Go low.
Well, the fans are ready. 50,000 plus fans in the Pontiac Silverdome to see the big monsters roar. Bigfoot, Andy Brass aboard, going up against Bob Fisher and UFO. Thumbs up from Bob Fisher. Bigfoot is ready. Off the line they go. Bigfoot hopping that characteristic wheelie. He backs it down, goes into the turn. Bob Fisher goes wide. And Andy Brass gets the win. Andy Brass and Bigfoot in the finals here in Pontiac. And Bob Fisher and the UFO just can't keep up. That turn is incredible. This Bigfoot truck is dialed in. Andy Brass can certainly handle it today. UFO goes wide. It cost him about 2 seconds right there, and that's all the time that Bigfoot needed for the win. Our next matchup between Snakebite and the Auto Value King Crunch. Now, Rob Grossman and King Crunch, back as the fastest loser, finds himself in the semifinals. Snakebite has defeated all comers. Off the line, Snakebite gets the hole shot. He backs down for the turn, handles that turn. Grossman goes wide again. And Snakebite with a win. Snakebite
Snakebite with a win. As the auto value King Crunch comes over the finish line, Snakebite's already into the pits. Look at this on the replay. What a great turn. The turns where it's at here at Pontiac. And it looks as though, yes, Snakebite is going to take on Bigfoot for our monster final in Pontiac.
So it's the granddaddy of monster truck racing, Bigfoot, against one of the new kids on the block, Snakebite, in the battle for the championship at the Silverdome. They'll go at it when the USHRA's Monster Truck Challenge continues in just a moment. Well, here it is, the moment we've all been waiting for, the race for the trophy on the floor of the Silverdome in Pontiac, Michigan. In one lane, Bigfoot, the big blue Ford, got here with wins over Hammer Time, Clydesdale, and UFO. As fast qualifier, he has lane choice. Snakebite gets snake bit with the lane Bigfoot doesn't want after beating Clydesdale, Hammer Time, and King Crunch. How about that? Due to the USHRA format, both trucks raced against Hammer Time and Clydesdale in the first 2 rounds, and now they tango for the title. Here with all the play-by-play action, Joe Lowe.
Can the crowd on their feet in the Pontiac Silverdome for an all-Ford final between Bigfoot, Andy Brass, out of West Alton, Missouri, going up against Snakebite, Colt Cobra. Colt coming from Cobra Creek, Colorado, with the Snakebite Monster. They're on the line. The crowd divided over who they like. Side by side, they go into that turn. Andy Brass seems to turn on power in the air. And Bigfoot wins. Yes, Bigfoot defeats Snakebite in the Pontiac Silverdome. A big win for Andy Brass and the big blue Ford here in Ford Country.
So this is a good country for us. It's up here, Pontiac, being a home of Ford and everything. You know, it really was a big win. Oh, I think we got a good combination with the truck. The truck did work good for us here tonight, and that's what put us here in the circle.
It was a good run for Snakebite in the final, but Colt Cobra has been worried about Andy Brass all day long.
Yeah, you know, I've been watching Andy run all night long, you know, and I knew he was going to be our toughest competitor coming into this race, and I tried to pick the right-hand lane where I could get a good dial in on my turn. You know, the Ford Snake was really turning on the horsepower. I think I had him down to the turn. He just made a little bit better turn than I did, but we made it exciting in the final, you know, and that's what people like to see.
As we take a last look at the final run, the championship run here in the Pontiac Silverdome, your winner of the United States Hot Rod Association Monster Truck Challenge here in Pontiac, Andy Brass, and the big blue Ford Bigfoot.
What a day for Bigfoot, proving once again that he is one of the top monster trucks in all of monster truck racing. The